If you want to change your life at the root, start with the way you see yourself. Not the image you project, not the role you play, but the quiet mechanics of your mind, your patterns, your stories, your automatic reactions. Self-awareness is the master key because you can't upgrade what you can't observe. Most people try to solve problems at the level of outcomes, more money, better relationships, stronger discipline, but outcomes are downstream. Upstream are your interpretations, how you label events, what you assume is possible, and the meaning you attach to pain or praise. Change the interpretation, and the behavior follows. Here's a simple frame: state, story, strategy. Your state is your emotional and physiological condition. Your story is the narrative you're running. Your strategy is what you do. When you're aware, you catch the sequence in real time. You notice that your shoulders drop, your breath gets shallow, and that old voice says, "I always mess this up." If you don't catch that story, the strategy will be avoidance, procrastination, or anger. Awareness interrupts the loop. You expand your field of choice, and choice is freedom. Psychology gives us a powerful tool here: metacognition, the ability to notice your thoughts as thoughts. Think of it as stepping onto the balcony while the party continues below. On the balcony, you see patterns you miss on the dance floor. You see that you seek validation from difficult people, or that you sabotage just before success because comfort feels safer than expansion. None of this is about blame, it's about precision. The more precise your awareness, the less energy you waste fighting the wrong battle. Practically, build daily moments of reflection. 2 minutes after a meeting, ask, what did I feel, what did I want, and what did I do to get it? Journaling is not a diary, it's data collection. Over a week you'll see triggers repeat like clockwork. Meditation helps too, not because it makes you calm, but because it trains attention. You learn to watch a thought arise, peak, and pass without having to ride it like a runaway horse. That skill translates directly to negotiations, hard conversations, and late-night decisions when your old patterns are loudest. Philosophically, examine your identity claims. I'm just not a morning person. I'm bad with money. These are not facts, they're conclusions. Ask, who would I be without that sentence? It's a radical question because identity is sticky, but identity is also editable. When you catch yourself saying always or never, you've likely found a wall you built and forgot you built it. Replace identity statements with process statements. I'm becoming the kind of person who budgets weekly. That's not positive thinking. It's accurate thinking aligned with growth. Feedback accelerates this. Most of us live in an echo chamber of our own preferences. Invite clean feedback from two types of people: a mentor who will be direct and a peer who sees you in action. Give them permission to be blunt. What do I do when I'm stressed that I don't see? Then do the uncomfortable thing. Repeat back what you heard without defending. That pause is where growth enters. Humility is not weakness, it's openness to reality. Environment matters too. If your phone is engineered to hijack your attention, you are renting out your awareness to the highest bidder. Curate your inputs. Your mind is a garden. If you don't plant intentionally, weeds win by default. Choose books, rooms, and conversations that make you conscious of your choices instead of numbing you to them. And yes, set boundaries. Every no to noise is a yes to awareness. Finally, pair awareness with accountability. Insight without implementation becomes spiritual entertainment. Create a simple scoreboard, the one behavior you're observing this week, the trigger that precedes it, and the replacement action you commit to when it appears. Celebrate the reps, not perfection. The win is catching yourself 1 second earlier today than yesterday. That's proof your awareness is getting stronger. You don't need a new life to become self-aware. You need a new level of honesty within the life you already have. Start there, start now, and let your actions be informed by what is true, not by what is loud. Own your patterns, or your patterns will own your future. Discipline is not punishment, it's the architecture of freedom. Motivation is a spark, useful, inspiring, but discipline is the wiring that keeps the lights on when the storm hits. If self-awareness is the compass, discipline is the daily march in the direction you've chosen. Most people wait for a feeling to carry them forward. High performers build a structure that makes action inevitable, even when the feeling is absent. That's the psychological shift. Stop negotiating with your moods and start honoring your commitments. Think of discipline as the alignment of three things: standards, systems, and state. Standards are the non-negotiables, who you are at your best. Systems are the scaffolding, the cues, routines, and environments that make the best choice the default choice. State is the energy and emotion you bring to the moment. When those three are coherent, your behavior stops being a debate. You act because acting is consistent with your identity, easy because your environment supports it, and energized because your body and mind are primed. Philosophically, discipline is the practice of choosing the long game over the short game. It is the repeated refusal to sacrifice who you want to become for what you want right now. That sounds noble, but practically it's mundane. It's the 5 minutes when the alarm rings and you decide whether your future self gets a vote. It's the moment the craving appears and you breathe once, label it, and step through it. Discipline is not grand gestures, it's micro choices compounded over time. Let's get tactical. First, design friction. Add friction to what you want less of. Remove friction from what you want more of. If your phone steals your mornings, charge it in another room. If you want to read, place the book on your pillow every afternoon so nighttime you has no decision to make. Second, pre-commit. Make the decision once, not every day. Set recurring blocks on your calendar for deep work. Prep your gym clothes the night before. Tell a friend your target and report back. Public promises tighten private behavior. Third, use implementation intentions. If it's 6 a.m., I lace my shoes. If I finish lunch, I walk 10 minutes. You're programming the trigger action pair so your brain doesn't have to invent a plan under pressure. Your biology matters. Discipline rides on energy management, not willpower fantasy. Sleep is strategy. Hydration, nutrition, and movement aren't wellness trends, they're performance levers. A tired brain defaults to the easiest option. A fueled brain can hold a line. Manage dopamine wisely. Novelty and constant stimulation teach your nervous system to expect fireworks. Then basic, necessary work feels dull. Build tolerance for boredom. The athlete of the mind repeats good form without applause. You're training the capacity to stay with what matters when nothing is happening. Identity is the deepest lever. When you say, "I'm disciplined," your brain seeks evidence to stay congruent. But you earn that claim by casting votes with your actions. Every rep is a ballot for who you're becoming. Miss a day, fine. Never miss twice. That single rule prevents slide into chaos. Remember, discipline without self-compassion becomes brittle. Self-compassion without discipline becomes sloppy. You want the third path: warm-hearted rigor. Forgive quickly, recommit immediately, continue steadily, expect resistance. Your old patterns will negotiate. Just this once. You deserve a break. Start tomorrow. Treat those lines as background noise. Don't wrestle them out. Structure them. Put your workout on your calendar the way you'd schedule a meeting with a client. You wouldn't cancel on a client because you didn't feel like it. Hold yourself to the same standard. And when you do show up fully. Partial presence is a habit too. Train complete engagement for short, intense blocks. Protect recovery with equal intention. Track what you want to grow. A simple scoreboard, boxes to tick, minutes logged, pages read, turns discipline into a game the brain understands. Measure inputs you control, not outcomes you can't. Celebrate streaks, but don't worship them. If the streak breaks, your identity doesn't. Start the next one. All progress is a dance between constraint and creativity. Your constraints create the container. Your creativity fills it with excellence. Behind all of this is meaning. Discipline without a why decays into drudgery. Tie your habits to a purpose larger than convenience. Family, service, mastery, faith, legacy. When the alarm rings, you're not just getting up. You're keeping a promise to someone or something you respect. That's how discipline becomes devotion. In the end, discipline is love translated into behavior. Love for your future, your craft, and the people who rely on you. Choose the long game in this moment and the moment after that until the choice becomes your nature. Do what you said you would do, especially when no one is watching. If you want sustainable greatness, treat your health like a system, not a side project. Energy is the currency of performance. Without it, self-awareness collapses into rumination and discipline hardens into willpower games you eventually lose. The body and mind are not two departments. They're one company with a single bottom line. When your physiology is chaotic, your psychology pays the bill. So the real strategy is to build a daily operating system that stabilizes your nervous system, replenishes your fuel, and clears cognitive noise before it accumulates as stress. Start with sleep because it touches everything else. Sleep isn't a reward for a hard day. It's the foundation for a good one. Think in terms of rhythm over hours. Go to bed and wake up at consistent times, dim the lights an hour before, and protect the first and last 30 minutes of your day from screens. That's not just hygiene. It's a vote for tomorrow's focus. When you honor sleep, you upgrade mood regulation, decision speed, and impulse control. In practical terms, you're making better choices before you ever need discipline. Next, movement. Don't wait for a perfect program. Make motion the default. Your brain is an organ that evolved to think while the body moves. A brisk walk after meals regulates glucose and quiets mental chatter. Short strength sessions build a posture of confidence that your psychology mirrors. If you're too busy, break it into 5-minute bouts scattered through the day. Your nervous system cares about frequency more than heroics. Train consistently, recover intentionally, and measure progress in weeks and months, not in mirror snapshots. Nutrition is attention management disguised as food. You're not eating for abs, you're eating for clarity. Aim for simple rules that reduce decisions. Hydrate early, protein at each meal, fiber and color from plants. Minimally processed choices most of the time. When in doubt, eat foods your great-grandparents would recognize. Perfection isn't the goal, stability is. The fewer spikes and crashes in your physiology, the fewer spikes and crashes in your emotions. That stability becomes an unfair advantage in negotiations, creative work, and conflict. Now let's talk about stress, because stress isn't the enemy, dysregulation is. You need challenge to grow. What breaks you is the absence of recovery. Build micro-recoveries into the day, 2-minute breath resets between tasks, a 5-minute sunlight break, a hard stop in the evening where you close the loop and write tomorrow's top 3. Use breath like a lever. Slow, nasal exhales tell the body it's safe. You're not escaping stress, you're mastering the gear. Shift between drive and restore. Mentally, declutter your inputs. Your attention is a finite asset. Every notification, every outrage headline, every open loop taxes your cognitive budget. Curate what gets in, choose books and conversations that elevate your thinking, and limit the digital drip that trains your brain to crave novelty over depth. Protect deep work with boundaries the way you protect your home with locks. Boundaries are not walls, they're agreements that keep the best of you available for what matters. Environment does half the work. If your kitchen, desk, and bedroom are designed for your goals, you won't need to white-knuckle choices. Put water on your desk, shoes by the door, a foam roller where you scroll, a journal by the bed. Make the healthy action the nearest action. The person with the best environment usually wins because discipline happens upstream, not in the moment of temptation. Finally, integrate meaning. Health isn't vanity, it's stewardship. You're not just caring for a body. You're caring for the instrument through which you serve your family, your mission, your future. When your why is big enough, habits stop feeling like chores and start feeling like alignment. Establish a minimum viable day, the non-negotiable basics you do even when life hits hard. Hydrate, move 10 minutes, get daylight, 3 mindful breaths before big decisions. On good days, do more. On tough days, keep the streak alive. That consistency builds self-trust, and self-trust is the ground your entire life stands on. Invest in the system that carries you through every dream you have. Protect your energy, and your energy will protect your future. If you want to change the trajectory of your life, invest in what never depreciates: your skill set. Skills compound, knowledge compounds. The person who learns faster, adapts faster, and masters the craft faster will always outpace raw talent or luck. That's not a platitude, it's a strategy. The question isn't whether you should learn. It's how you learn with intention so that the learning turns into capability, and capability into results. Start with purpose. Random curiosity is wonderful, but sustainable learning requires a connective tissue between what you study and what you want to produce. Ask yourself, what outcomes will this skill enable? Will it buy you time, influence, health, freedom, or meaning? When learning is tethered to an outcome, your brain recruits motivation differently. You stop accumulating facts and start building instruments. Think of learning as building a staircase, not a single leap. Break a domain into layers: foundational rules, core techniques, common patterns, and edge cases. Master the fundamentals until they are unconscious. The temptation is to chase fancy frameworks or rare tricks. Instead, earn the right to complexity by drilling the basics until they carry you. Repetition is not boring, it's structural integrity for competence. Be deliberate. Random practice produces random results. Deliberate practice is focused, uncomfortable, and measurable. Set specific goals for each session: what skill you'll improve, how you'll measure progress, and what feedback loop you'll use. Feedback is the oxygen of improvement. If you can't get direct feedback, create objective metrics: time on task, error rate, speed, or output quality. Measure inputs you control, then infer improvement from consistent signals. Use the technique of learn by doing. Projects beat passive consumption every time. Read with a project in mind. Teach what you learn, even if the first audience is a notebook or a friend. Teaching forces clarity and exposes gaps. The fastest way to understand something is to translate it into action and explanation. Apprenticeship accelerates this further. Work alongside someone who is already doing the thing at a high level. Shadow, copy, and then innovate. Meta-learning how to learn is the multiplier. Learn the heuristics for a field. What books matter, which problems reveal core principles, and which mentors to follow. Practice retrieval, spaced repetition, and interleaving. Space your practice so the brain has to work to recall. That difficulty is the forge of durable memory. Interleave related skills so your mind learns to differentiate and apply flexibly rather than to parrot isolated procedures. Failure is data, not identity. When you misstep, don't wallow, analyze. What assumptions failed? What model was wrong? Adjust the next iteration. The psychological shift from shame to curiosity is decisive. Celebrate experimental risk because it delivers information you can use. Each mistake, if treated with rigor, shortens the path to mastery. Curate your inputs. Not all books, podcasts, and courses are equal. Identify primary sources and canonical works in a field, then sample commentary. The internet tempts us to skimming breadth without depth. Depth is a slow currency. Allocate uninterrupted blocks for deep study. Protect those blocks like you protect your most important relationships. Build a learning ecosystem. Small habits compound: a 30-minute evening read, a weekly project sprint, a monthly article you write, a quarterly conversation with a mentor. These are the micro investments that over years create leverage. Find a community where learning is the norm. Peer pressure toward excellence is underrated. The environment will either expand or contract the range of possible skills you develop. Finally, adopt a long-term view. Skills produce optionality, the ability to choose work, the capacity to solve problems, the authority to lead. When you learn, you create leverage over your future. Treat education as an asset allocation. Diversify across complementary skills: communication, quantitative reasoning, emotional intelligence, and technical competence. Each skill multiplies the value of the others. You don't need to be the smartest in the room. You need to be the most committed to learning. Commit today to one concrete learning actions, small, specific, and repeatable, and let compound interest do the rest. Master the tools of learning, and you will graduate from living by circumstance to designing your life by choice. You become the average of the people and places you inhabit, not because fate decrees it, but because proximity shapes possibility. If you spend your days surrounded by scarcity talk, cynicism, and small thinking, your imagination will quietly shrink to fit that room. Conversely, put yourself near people who expand their capacity, and your sense of what's possible stretches without drama. This isn't mystical, it's ecological. Minds are social organs. They feed on language, models, and norms. The input sets the thermostat for ambition. Start by auditing proximity. Who are the 3 people you spend the most time with? What tone do their conversations take? What habits do they normalize? Be precise. This is not a moral judgment on their worth as human beings, but an honest inventory of influence. Influence is often asymmetric. A single mentor's line can rewire your trajectory more than 10 casual friends. Prioritize proximity to those who model what you want to become. If someone is a living demonstration of the life or skill you desire, they are worth the time it takes to learn their rhythms. There's a difference between associative relationships and aspirational relationships. Friends are for belonging, mentors are for becoming. You need both, but don't confuse comfort for growth. Create relational zones, a zone for restoration, where vulnerability and laughter are safe, a zone for expansion, where feedback is sharp and discipline is expected. Move deliberately between these zones. Never rely on one circle to provide everything you need. Environment is broader than people. It includes places, rituals, and media. Walk into a library, a clean studio, or an office designed for focus, and you'll behave differently. The architecture of a space cues behavior. Light, order, and access to tools lower the barrier to excellence. Conversely, chaotic spaces increase cognitive load and erode willpower. Design your environments so the desired actions are simple, visible, and default. Make excellence the path of least resistance. Community matters because standards are contagious. When you join a community where production and contribution are normalized, stagnation becomes socially uncomfortable. That's a healthy pressure. Seek groups where the currency is value creation, not status signaling. In such places, the vocabulary itself upgrades. How did you solve this? Replaces what's your excuse? Conversations that focus on solutions prime your brain to look for leverage points instead of comfort. Boundaries are the unseen architecture of growth. Saying no to invitations that drain you is not rudeness, it's wisdom. Protect your calendar like a founder protects runway. Your attention is limited. Bend it where returns compound. Saying no also clarifies identity. Who you choose to be around signals who you are becoming. So be intentional about invitations, and let your presence be scarce for the things that deserve it. Feedback loops accelerate growth, but they require psychological safety. Surrounding yourself with honest people who also care about your success is a rare gift. Ask for blunt observations and give permission for truth. Then practice a disciplined curiosity. Listen, reflect, and act. The combination of candid input and immediate application compresses learning curves into weeks instead of years. Technology can be both a bridge and a moat. Use platforms to find mentors, courses, and communities that scale your exposure to excellence. But beware the illusion of connection. An Instagram follow is not a substitute for real mentorship. Convert virtual signals into real investment. Book a call, join a cohort, show up in person when possible. The richest influence often happens in embodied, sustained exchanges. Finally, contribute before you collect. Influence is reciprocal. When you show up as a giver sharing ideas, work, or support, you become indispensable and attract higher quality relationships. Contribution builds esteem and curates your circle by who responds with reciprocity. It's also practical. Teaching and helping others forces you to refine your thinking and makes your growth durable. Surround yourself with people who expand your vocabulary for what's possible, spaces that lower the friction to excellence, and communities that demand consistent contribution. Then do the hard interior work. Visibility without substance is vanity. Proximity without practice is wasted potential. Align your inner standards with your outer environment, and you'll find progress accelerating in ways that feel inevitable. Choose your company and your rooms with the seriousness you choose your future.